Content warning. The Adventures in HellwQrld podcast talks in depth about QAnon, which means we have to talk about all kinds of child abuse and violence against people. Listener discretion advised.
Hello, everybody. I am Mike Rains, a.k.a. Poker and Politics. Welcome to another episode of Adventures in HellwQrld. This week, I am joined by Sarge.
That's me. Still Sarge. Still here. Hello from the internet. All those things I've said before.
He said them again. We're also joined by the mysterious L.
Hear, hear, my beautiful babies. Hear ye, hear ye. It's time for us to talk about horse shit. Extra, horse shit. Read all about it.
Oh, man, the horse shit, yes. So much horse shit.
I love how, like, every week that goes on, we get a little closer to being able to just, like, scientifically prove that, the timeline we're in is fucked up. Like, we done fucked it up. We're getting this big physics announcement tomorrow where only science nerds are going to be excited about what they're actually saying. Like, I enjoy that the internet is trying to hype it up, but your average person is not going to give a fuck about the measuring of gravitational waves using pulsar arrays. I think it sounds pretty cool. I only sort of understand it. And it certainly sounds awesome, but they're going to be like, and what this means is that we now like have a slightly better understanding about how black holes work. And it's like, okay, great. That's cool. Okay. But it would be great if they were just like, yeah, we used our big pulsar array to measure some space-time waves. And we found out that there is only one hell, and it's the one we live in right now.
That would be the greatest thing in the world. The pulsar arrays actually objectively disprove God.
It's just a creepypasta. They just we tuned into hell, and it's just that creepypasta, and like, here, listen to the endless screaming. It's like cool.
I also love how like the big hype up science announcement that's been like they've been building over the past couple of weeks. Like, that's coming, but in addition to that, the new like James Webb telescope or whatever also just found galaxies where they shouldn't exist, and they're younger than they should be by like 1 billion years or something.
Oh, that's
and it's just
I
like
haven't heard that.
And they're like looking at it, and they're just like, well, if these galaxies are here and they're as young as they are, that kind of means that the Big Bang, it can't have been real, and we have to kind of completely rethink the origin of the universe. And it's just like, okay, well, I mean, I know that you can't really predict a discovery like that, but unfortunately, that should probably bump. Like, sorry, you were headlining like pulsar array, like black hole determining thing. That's cool and all, but we're gonna unfortunately, Chappelle wants to play a set tonight, and we're sorry. Like, we don't like it any more than you do, but Chappelle, he gets to just go on.
Yeah, if we have evidence that the Big Bang is somehow incorrect or mistimed, well then, yeah, I had not even heard about that at all. That's going to be something I'm going to have to research after the pod. I'm going to have to do my own research and become, I don't know, creationist pilled or something. I mean, like, fuck
That's
it.
the thing. I thought that there was better than average odds that neither one of you would know a single fuck about the two huge scientific things that are happening this week.
Yeah. Oh, I knew the pulsar thing, and I knew about the announcement, but I had no idea about the extra galaxies, and now people being like, the Big Bang, real? Question mark? That sounds very interesting. And
I guess there's a chance that the two things are intertwined. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do jive with the idea of being able to try to study, the like space time itself. That is cool, but it's also just like it's going to be a real hard pill to sell to the general populace, because it's just like, yeah, but what does that mean? It's just like, oh, it means that something that we can only observe as it existed like 1,000 years ago behaves slightly differently than we thought it did. People are going to be like, yeah, but who cares? Like, I can't feed my kids.
Right. Yeah, exactly. How does this matter to my kitchen table issues? Well, it actually doesn't, but
yeah, but how does this relate to the British royal family or a missing submersible with 4 billion with 2 billionaires, 2 dickheads, and a kid on it?
Oh man! Hey, if you can't tie the pulsar array to the submarine, why would America be interested? Oh my god!
It turns out that the pulsar array is the only way that you can determine the actual flavor of the Grimace shake. That's these are all the topical things. This episode is going to be a perfect time capsule of this week, in history. And we're just
You're
going to
not
find, like,
wrong.
aside from the QAnon shit that we have to talk about by, honor-bound law, we're also going to be talking about a forthcoming scientific discovery and the tail end of the submarine disaster that people are still talking about for some reason, and the Grimace Shake popping off on viral, like all going all viral. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I saw I saw 2 TikToks of the Grimace Shake thing, and one was just a guy dying after drinking the Grimace Shake, and
That's
the second one was
the joke.
right, and the second one was a guy actually exploding. He actually liquefied after drinking the Grimace Shake.
Our buddy just shared that one in a group chat with the boys, where he sips it, and then they do the replacement effect or whatever, where it just looks like he detonates in his car into purple goo.
Yes,
and I love how, like, and I don't usually like to pull this term out because it doesn't just apply to people in this age group anymore, but boomer ass motherfuckers come in and they're just like, Grimace thing, man, I don't get it. And it's just like, yeah, but like 15 years ago, you probably thought Chuck Norris was hilarious. And it's just like, guess what? Chuck Norris is exactly as hilarious as the Grimace Shake. If one of them is funny, then the other one is funny. Like, you don't get to have it both ways. So people are just like, I don't get it. It's like, what's to get? The idea is that, like, McDonald's did this really stupid marketing thing, so the internet seized upon it to make it something different in the form of, like, kind of small scale performative art pieces or whatever. And the punchline usually being, drink this milkshake and something bad will happen to you. Like, your girlfriend will turn into a Japanese style horror ghost, or you will explode. But one of my favorite ones is it's just 2 kids, like, sipping them simultaneously, and then it just smash cuts to one of them, like, cradling the other on the ground like he's been shot in a war, and he's just covered in the purple goo, and the other kid's just like, no, why? And it's just like, yeah, like, what's not to get? Like, these 2 kids shared the milkshake, disastrous consequences. Like, I don't get it. This humor is too sophisticated for me. I liked it better with like 2 bald guys and 1 not bald guy would poke each other in the eyes and stuff. Now, that was comedy.
Oh, there is nothing that makes me roll my eyes harder than the Three Stooges. Every now and then, we have this weird TV in the break room that only plays pre-programmed channels. So if I'm not listening to that guy from Bar Rescue screaming at somebody about how they're going to get someone sick and kill them, and this bar has to be shut down, I'm watching Three Stooges, and it's just, I have never gotten the appeal of the Three Stooges. Even as a little kid, I just watched them beating each other up, and I'm like, why are these 3 guys hitting each other, and why is that entertaining? I just don't get it. It has just never hit me. I don't know what it is about that thing, but God, there is nothing I find less entertaining than the Three Stooges.
It was, for comedy, genuinely a simpler time.
Yeah, and I'm assuming, and like at the time, those guys are probably on the cutting edge of that shit, so it probably like felt a little different than like us. But it's just like, by the time I saw the Three Stooges, I'd seen I had seen Jim Carrey doing stuff before I saw the Three Stooges doing anything, and I was just like, who the fuck cares about what? Like, who cares about this?
It's 2
like,
guys.
Oh yeah, the guy got slapped on his face. There he is. But
2 guys
again,
in a cow costume, and the one's trying to milk it. Like, what?
I mean, the premise of that does sound pretty funny. I can see why during a simpler time that would have killed. I'm laughing just thinking about it. But if it was like, if it had come out in the late '90s, the guy's like the guy just be like, "Oh man, I don't know why there's a hole in the udder of this costume, but oh no, my pee-pee fell through it, and I'm getting milked. There's something about Mary."
Oh man.
Remember the time like between like 1997 and 2001 where every comedy movie was fucking horrible.
Yeah, somehow Freddy Got Fingered got made. Like, that exists.
I mean, the fact that Tom Green got to be successful for even a little while is disgusting to me. Like, it just makes me, again, like, where are we measuring the space-time waves that let that happen?
Yeah.
And like, I guess now we still got like a radio show. It's just like, you deserve nothing, sir.
Oh,
I'm
God.
gonna look him in the face and tell him that he deserved nothing. I'm gonna be like, you just got lucky. It was just a cosmic roll of the dice for you, motherfucker. Anybody can be doing your shit.
Oh God, I was working. I was the attendant running a merry-go-round in a mall for a long time ago when Tom Green got big, and some idiot came onto the merry-go-round with a blow-up doll and his friend with like a camcorder, because that was the era, and he rode on the merry-go-round while his buddy was videotaping him. And then when they got off the merry-go-round, they were walking away. And then the guy threw the blow-up doll to the ground and then kicked it and screamed, "You always ruin everything!" And then mall security like ran over because they were like freaked out by this guy like throwing a fit and attacking a blow-up doll in the mall. And then the guy had to be like, "It's just a prank, bro." And that was the end of that. It was just like, fuck you, Tom Green, for bringing this shit into my life.
That joke only works if you first have sex with the blow-up doll to completion on the merry-go-round. You have whatever the average merry-go-round ride is to get inside this blow-up doll, like get your business done, so that you could do the follow-up punchline of the prank.
Yeah.
Because wouldn't the prank be a little bit funnier if there was just like the chance of some material getting spread around while you're throwing around the blow-up doll?
I think every YouTuber, TikTok pranker, like, needs to, like, at least once get tased. Or
just like hit real hard. I don't want him to die or be hit with like a stabbed or anything, but I do feel like if you at some point somebody should just sock you one time real hard in the gut. Like just one of those ones you see in an action movie where like somebody hits them real tough in the gut from like real close and they double over like, ooh. I want one of those, and I want to see that. I want to see a compilation video of just that happening to prank TikTokers. Can we just put a moratorium on pranks unless it's like between like you and your closest friends and not for trying to go viral? Like how about we just put pranks back into the box of like a fun thing you do amongst your friendship circle, but keep it to yourselves.
Yeah.
Pranked you. Anyway, that's about 10 minutes worth of vamping. Time for us to get into our amuse-bouche.
It's time for a light sampling of insanity. Get ready for the amuse-bouche.
Unfortunately, a lot of people are finding out now that the amuse-bouche is not as tasty a dish as it used to be. They're very confused about this. And I can only imagine that's what's going on with this bouche headline, or a bouche line, I guess, because I didn't exactly confer with Mike Rains about it. But I have been seeing rumblings of people being confused as to why their food might smell and taste differently now, and it could be any reason. And for potential reasons, I'll turn it over to Mike Rains. Mike, why food don't taste so good no more?
Apparently the downfall of American society, or wokeism. It could be any of these things, because Laura Loomer, resident lunatic who almost got elected to Congress, ran in a Republican primary in a like Republican plus 90 district and barely lost to the incumbent. And also was supposedly going to be on the Trump 2024 campaign, but then that got quashed. But Laura has been trying to get her name out there, still trying to make rounds in the Republican scene. She posted a long missive on Twitter because she has the check mark and gets to write long tweets now about how everything tastes and smells weird these days, and she doesn't want to go to restaurants anymore. And to her, quote, "The quality of life seems worse in America than it was several years ago." And just, there's no reason to go outside.
Maybe even 3 years ago, exactly.
The world has changed for the worst in these last 3 years. Yes. And, quote, "There's something very off about the energy outside," is how she describes it. Which
I'm not sure if it was one of her tweets or somebody else chiming in, because this is one of the few things I did see on Twitter before we recorded the show, which is why I took a flyer on actually guessing why we're talking about long COVID. Spoiler warning: these are probably symptoms of long COVID.
Yeah.
But like one person was even just like, "Yeah, man, I noticed it too. Like, food just doesn't taste as good. Like outside just doesn't smell the same. I think it happened sometime around the pandemic." It's like, you stupid fucks. Like, how is it possible that you get so close to the goal line but are just incapable of crossing it? Who are you, an opponent of the Patriots back when they were good?
Yes. Who are you, the Seattle Seahawks of a few years ago? Yes, it's wild to literally give all the symptoms of long COVID and then being like, nah, that can't be it because COVID was fake and it's all bullshit.
The symptoms of long COVID and also like a time frame that perfectly lines up with like it's just like, yeah, man, before that fake pandemic, everything tasted and smelled different. Now everything tastes and smells slightly worse. So weird. Fake pandemic. What a crazy time to be alive. And it's just like they can't, and for a lot of these people, they can't even blame the vaccine because they refuse to take it, which just increases the likelihood that what they're experiencing is fucking COVID. Like COVID fucked your body up. Sorry.
Right. Like that was one of the things that people didn't want to really talk about the vaccine, was that it doesn't just make it so that you're less likely to die from COVID. It makes it so that when you get COVID, your case of COVID is milder and not as extreme. So you have a less likely chance of getting long COVID as a result of it. So like there was like all kinds of benefits to getting vaccinated, benefits that these people refuse to acknowledge or want, apparently. So now they get to have their smelly, tasteless existence in our world now. I mean,
if only it wasn't the consequences of my own action. Yeah, it's baffling. They're definitely describing the symptoms of long COVID, and devil's advocate, maybe it's not, because guess what? We're still discovering and studying the effects of COVID. Like, it takes time, and there's going to be a documentary 10 years from now, like, citing this bullshit to show, like, yeah, these people probably have long COVID, or whatever we're calling it at that point.
Devil's advocate, maybe what's her name, Laura Loomer? Maybe she's just in a an incredibly white section of London. She's just surrounded by white British people.
The one you're not attracted to.
Yeah. Oh, Laura is.
Hey, easy there, champion. I'm not attracted to a lot of these conservative wackadoos. In fact, I would say that I'm guiltily attracted to only a small percentage of them. Thankfully, in general, Marjorie Taylor Greene is aging like milk, so that made us almost immediately. Like back when she was right on the scene, and she was like, "Look at me doing CrossFit." I was like, "Yeah, okay. If you were the mom next door, I'd be into it." But now I'm just like, "Oh, honey, no."
Yeah. Man, it is amazing how not bad I feel for making fun of that woman and her appearance and any number of things.
Yeah, look, I mean, I know that it's supposed to be like uncool to talk about people's appearances at all these days, like in a negative manner. And, I'm willing to trade in some of my karma points to be able to do it. I hold open doors for a lot of people. Like I'm the most, like, I'm incredibly polite in my day-to-day life and generally on team good guy. Every once in a while, I will spend my karma points to do a thing that I shouldn't be. And making fun of ugly gargoyles that I hate is one of them. Here we go. Anyway, moving right on to other ugly people that I hate. Mike threw this one to me. I had no idea what he was talking about, but apparently old Donald Trump, who we will be getting to again later during the headlines, of course, but joins us in our boosh as well, because apparently he's back to wanting to fuck his daughter, or like he's just back to talking about wanting to fuck his daughter because I don't think it ever stopped. Mike, what's up with Thirsty Trump? Shouldn't he have other things on his mind besides his daughter's sweet food?
All his perfectly legal boxes.
Basically, a Newsweek article. Newsweek is a kind of a rag now. I don't know why they published this other than it just gets them some attention. There was aides that stated that Donald Trump would be constantly talking about Ivanka's breasts, her ass, and he would question what it would be like to have sex with her. And at one point, his chief of staff was like, "Yo, bro, she's your daughter. Why are you doing this?" And it's just something that he just can't get over. He just has this.
So who is reporting this? Should we be trusting this? Because it sounds incredible. Like I want it to be. I want there to be like a. I want there to just be like a group of people who just had to be around while Donald Trump openly talked about wanting to fuck his own daughter.
Right.
I'm going to go on record, like, for myself and the podcast in general, no say for my co-host, we all 100% believe this is true.
Yeah. Like, it is the editorial opinion of HellwQrld that Donald Trump, given the opportunity, would fuck his daughter. And
which, I mean, if you weren't Donald Trump, her father, like, I mean, yeah, bully on you. That's perfectly great. Attractive, like, successful woman, well put together, bully on you. But as her dad, you just gotta pump the brakes on that.
Yeah, like, I mean, she's not unattractive, but also, man, we're just really objectifying women, nasty conservative women on the podcast today.
Well, I mean, as far as Trump's daughter said, I said that she was attractive, well put together, and successful. So yes. I don't think I was like really objectify her. I was just listing like that, these are the reasons why you would maybe want to pursue sexual relations with this person.
I mean, yeah.
So again, the end result of I guess the fable of the story, the moral of the story. I finally got there. I grasped for 3 different words, and the third one was I was like Dr. House. Anyway, the moral of the story is don't want to bang your own daughter. I mean, come on, guys. Let's.
And if you do have that lust in your heart, don't constantly do it in meetings with other people around the White House. Maybe just maybe not that.
Also, you're allowed to recognize that your daughter is attractive in public. You're allowed to say that, but there's normal human I want to fuck my daughter ways to say that. And
in general, I feel like certainly in the country that we live in and that Donald Trump wishes to govern again, we have sort of like these unspoken moral rules about how you could and could not say that your own daughter was beautiful. And I don't think any of them just being like include like, oh, my daughter's got a great set of tits on her. No. Wrong. Yeah. Incorrect. Yeah. Not allowed. Or look at my daughter's great dumpster. No, incorrect. Like it's just you have to be polite about it. Just say beautiful. Just be like, I've got a beautiful daughter. Like, oh, look at her. She's so my daughter's so beautiful. That's a great word for it.
Oh, and then you make a joke about how it obviously comes from her mother because you're not that great looking, and then the crowd laughs, and your wife gives you the you, and you just go with it that way. It isn't really hard to do the whole thing that I got.
And then you lunge for your own daughter, and 2 Secret Service members have to hold you back. You're just frothing at the mouth with lust. I can't wait to get to her. I'm gonna Game of Thrones this motherfucker.
It's just so unattractive. Like,
oh God.
So disgusting.
Yep, it's not great. It's the opposite of great. It's terrible.
I can take her to leave it. Let's get on to better boosh, shall we? Because for a brief time there, we were living in the timeline where Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg were going to fight actually physically fight each other in a match, like, coordinated by Dana White, of course, who stepped in and he was like, I am the guy you come to when you need to mediate a fight that is stupid. Like, I am here to do that. But unfortunately, that seems like it is no longer to be. Mike, how did we narrowly avoid such an incredible event?
Right now, the argument is apparently Elon Musk's mom is refusing to allow her son to have this fight. And apparently Elon is...
His mom...
apparently Elon's just a mommy's boy, and he's just like, well, if mom won't let me fight Zuckerberg, then I can't.
My mom says I can't.
Although Elon does have a tweet out from a few days ago stating that he's like, Mom, please let me fight Zuckerberg. I must defeat him for the good of the world. I must get into the cage and best him. And
this is like when DMX was supposed to like celebrity box the guy who shot what's his name, Zimmer guy or whatever, the dude who got away with killing that kid.
Zimmerman.
There we go, Zimmerman. When DMX was supposed to celebrity box him, and he was just like, I'm gonna break every fucking rule of boxing. I'm just gonna mangle that guy in front of cameras. I don't give a fuck. I'm just gonna smash that dude. So Zimmerman backed out. It's like Elon was just like, he realized that though Zuckerberg is a big nerd, he's also like clearly a robot or whatever, and it's like not super. It's not super clear whether or not he can feel human emotions, including pain.
Also, there's videos of Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg's been doing training for years now in MMA.
Yeah, ground fighting at the very least, not striking, but like he does ground fighting, like jiu-jitsu tournaments and stuff like that. So, like, Zuckerberg understands like some level of martial arts.
He doesn't know nothing, right. And that is what I'm convinced Elon Musk knows. Nothing.
It would be Elon Musk, person who seems like they would cry if you bullied them hard enough on their own Twitter platform. They would cry snotty tears while blocking you and banning you. Mm-hmm. Versus Mark Zuckerberg, who nobody is entirely convinced is 100% human being. Yeah. And also has training in some form of martial arts. Although, of course, it's the most boring ones. Let's take it to the ground and roll around for a bit, guys.
Right.
No fun.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah,
it's
my
just,
money would have been on Zuckerberg in that one for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Elon tweet that was asking his mom for permission was actually from a parody account with a blue check mark. So
Nice.
thanks for your rock solid platform allowing things like that to exist where they trick me.
And man, the blue check mark is verified, so
Oh, yeah,
those people are vetted. That tweet was probably legit.
Yep, absolutely.
It's all that we could possibly imagine is that tweet is legitimate.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So, yeah, I did see that today, like the Gateway Pundit had an article about like the people that would train Musk for this fight were it to happen. But again, we're a couple days into the whole "mommy won't let me fight" thing. So, Musk was never getting in the cage because Musk doesn't know how to fight. So the idea that he would risk that level of humiliation against anybody, especially against somebody who actually has some degree of training and is a rival in this same sphere of business right now, which is social media platforms.
I mean, my God, Steven Seagal to come and train him.
Oh yeah. Oh God, Steven Seagal would have turned Elon Musk into an absolute killer. It would have been absolutely the best. Elon also made some weird joke about how he was going to use his move called the Walrus, where he falls on top of you and doesn't move. So I really
keep your sex moves out of the ring, Elon Musk.
Yeah. Exactly.
How do you have so many kids? Oh, right, you're rich.
Yeah.
It turns out that for Grimes and a lot of other women, $1 billion is just the lubrication you need. Like, you know, because imagine being charmed by the discussion and Elon Musk would have if you weren't a gold digger. If you were just like, I'm not a gold digger, money had nothing to do with it. It's just like, that's even worse. That means that you met Elon Musk at a party and he said some stuff to you and you let him inside of you with no rubber. That's impossible.
You're like, oh my God, this man is captivating with his bizarre incoherence and alt-right ideology. Just, oh my God. The idea of like holding a conversation with Elon, then walking away from it going, wow, that guy, he's a sharp one.
God, I'm fucking sexually aroused by that guy.
Elon has repeatedly said he's going to use his untold money to fix things, and then he hopes people forgets that he said those things. Like he said he was going to fix the water in Flint, Michigan. Like, that's definitely happened.
Did he call the administrators of Flint, Michigan pedophiles after he didn't help them?
I mean, maybe, but I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, he's still working on his super sub that's going to get down into the sewers of Flint, Michigan to figure out what's what. And if you don't think his submarine is going to be the solution, then you're a pedophile. Get wrecked, loser. That's the Elon Musk go-to.
Clown. Like,
I mean, hey, how do you refute anyone calling you a pedophile? You know what I mean? It's the perfect insult. That's why they love using it. And definitely it's not a smokescreen for any other behavior they might be getting up into.
Right.
But for more news about that, just check any number of the Twitters that literally just aggregate conservative idiots getting petra child porn or whatever every day. It's crazy.
Yeah, all the priests that still get popped.
Yeah. And then, you know, come back and tell me everything's going good, you know? Let's make America great again and get those people back into positions of power.
Yeah.
School district needs another superintendent. How about that guy has a ring in his hands? Sounds good to me.
Yes. Oh, God.
What can I say? He has my same opinion about brown people, which is to say, not a fan. Okay. Boosh over. Time for headline news.
From the digital headlines to the digital front lines, it's Q's in the news.
You know, this is a fucking crazy week for headlines because either of the two things that we're talking about could have easily been the headline for a week. And only because we are a QAnon-focused podcast does Donald Trump's recording of admission to crimes take the lead. So I'm just going to toss it straight over to Mike to lead us into Trump's woes this week.
Yeah, so CNN actually got the audio recording of Trump just saying, hey, I'm doing a crime. Right now, what I'm doing here, crime. This is actually a crime. So he talks about a document.
I know it's a crime.
And I know it's a crime. I know what I'm doing right now is a crime, but I'm still doing it. I am criming of... They always talk about how intent and the mindset of the criminal is an important part of a lot of these cases. And everything in this recording is just Trump saying, I'm doing a crime. I know I'm doing a crime. I'm very happy that I'm doing this crime. And the point of what Trump is, this is the thing that's like so bizarre about all of this. And I'm seeing people trying to argue Trump's side of this thing. The point of what's going on here is that Trump, because he has no actual functioning brain, basically went to the military and was like, yo, if we ever like attacked Iran, how would we do that? And because he's the fucking president, the military is like,
they put together, they're like, all right, well, we have something for this. And then they drew up a more updated one, which talks about our forces in the area and what we would bring and what we know Iran has.
Right. So we literally give an intelligence report to Trump about what an attack on Iran would look like. And then Trump, apparently, because he doesn't understand how this works, is like, oh, look, this was the bullshit they were trying to get me involved in. They were trying to rope me into this war with Iran. And he waves around the document like, this fucking, I didn't ask for this. The military gave this to me. And it's like, no, Mr. President, this is how this works, is that we have these plans for everything. And if you're just like, how would we hit Iran? Yeah, we're like, here you go. It's like Batman having a way to defeat every other member of the Justice League. Our military is doing nothing but creating contingency plans for possible things that could happen down the line. And that's all they gave to you. They didn't give you the military's plan to attack Iran. Please sign off on it, Mr. President. We're gung-ho. We want a war of Iran. You have no idea how badly we want to go after Iran because we're the military and we're psychotic.
Yeah, believe it or not, most of the time, the military just wants to spend money. They don't actually want to fight because that costs a lot of money.
Yeah, and randomly going to war with Middle Eastern countries is more of like a Bush thing, you know?
Yeah.
That was like the Bush family's deal. We haven't really been in that business in a while, so why start again now?
Right. Yeah. So, and the thing about that is that Trump was even on the tape saying this proves my case against Miley, which is just showing this is a petty grudge he had with someone in the military back when he was in office, where he was like, this fucking prick wanted me to go after Iran and I didn't want to do it. And see, he was a warmonger.
I thought he was saying that Miley, because that was the Secretary of Defense at the time? Or no, Joint Chief.
Yeah, I'm trying.
That was who gave him that document.
Right, but he also mentioned it, quote unquote, which proves my case. That he was just like,
I never quite understood that because all it was really proving was that it
was proving the stuff he was saying directly, which was, this is classified. When I was president, I could have declassified this, but now I cannot. Here, take a look at it.
So many legal experts are just like, what do you fucking do with this guy as a client when the other side has the client, your client, confessing to having the documents?
This fucking guy cannot stop being caught on recording, getting caught like committing crimes, or at the very least like discussing the possibility of committing crimes, like the grab by the pussy thing. Like, he had that fucking phone call with the Ukraine back before everybody loved Ukraine because they were getting attacked by Russia. Like, fucking, you know, all the shit that I have to imagine. Like, he's probably on recorded, like, fucking, the Georgia thing. That was the one I forgot. He was on tape asking them to find more votes. He just loves getting caught on tape, like discussing crimes. And so far, why wouldn't he? He's never been punished. Nobody gives a shit. He got impeached for the Ukraine thing. It turns out that all that did was like allow the American public to know that impeachment is nothing. Impeachment is nothing. It doesn't mean fucking anything. It's finger waving of the highest order. Ooh.
Yeah. It really just went to show that Republicans have no compunction whatsoever for any crimes that their president commits. Like Richard Nixon from his grave is going, what? I could have just survived Watergate, no harm, no foul? You pieces of shit. What the fuck?
The thing is that then, like, absolutely not. He could not have. For whatever reason, like, culture was different back then, and something like this was like a fucking, like the Watergate thing, like, was a presidency ender, and like the Bill Clinton sex scandal was a huge fucking deal. Everybody was fucking destroyed over that shit. But like I don't know if 9/11 just like fucking like destroyed a part of America's collective brain or what, but like, dude, now any number of these things would have just completely ended somebody's whole ass career like 20, 30 years ago, just completely in the dirt. And now you can just weather an unlimited storm of being caught on recordings confessing to a bunch of stuff.
Oh, I've seen Russell Brand has a scalding hot take where he was just like, I think the big story is that Trump was trying to prevent a war of Iran. I don't think the document itself is really that big of a deal. It's just this idea, this bizarre narrative that Trump was the peace president and was just trying to rein in our reckless military when he sold weapons to Saudi Arabia for their atrocities in Yemen. He literally told the military, go ahead and fucking drone anybody you want, and I'll remove all the fucking accountability requirements for that shit. Just, you want to drone strike? Fucking, yeah, if you want to drone them, fucking drone them. And if you kill some civilians, we'll cover it up. I don't give a shit. Like, the fact that Trump was this bloodthirsty monster, but he just didn't have a war to get himself into makes him the peace guy. It's ridiculous.
Okay, so we've presented the facts. We've editorialized a lot because that's what the show is, because we're not journalists. It's a comedy show. Just as a reminder to anyone who's listening. So now I have to ask Mike, what's QAnon's take on the tape? Obviously, is the tape doctored? That was my first go-to. Fake tape, right? Fake news?
Actually, they didn't go for the deep fake. Their main thing was, how do we even know that document was classified? Trump could have been talking about any number of things. The one that he said was classified? And admitted to the person he's showing it to, he was like, when I was president, I could have declassified this, but I did not, and I am not, so it remains classified. Here, take a look. I mean, the transcript and the audio is pretty clear. He was talking like, because I know that Trump has switched his defense now to just be like, it was bravado. Those are just random papers on my desk. It was like, dude, you said the document was classified. You said it. Oh yeah, he was just lying about that. I actually then saw another guy, the devolution crank. I actually had a fun conversation with someone about devolution. They were like, "Yeah, that shit's bullshit." I'm like, "Well, then how'd that guy get popular and make tons of money off you people?" And he was like, "Fucking ask Mike Rothschild." And it's like, you're the QAnon promoter, not him. You tell me how this guy got in.
What?
How this guy got into your circle of grift?
Well, the problem is that obviously Mike Rothschild would know because money is involved. You see.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I'm not gonna, you take from that what you will, but I will just say money is involved, and maybe even banks, Mike, if you get what I'm saying. Maybe banks, maybe even some Hollywood, if you know what I'm saying.
Ooh,
oh my god,
weird.
Let's talk. Getting some bagels and lox from your favorite deli in New York City, if you catch my drift.
I love that the right wing has created this mythos where there's like 5,000 words for Jewish. There's just in the right wing conspiracy lunatic sphere, there are as many words for Jew as there are in like male parlance as there is for sex. It's just, there's so many words you could use, and the other person just hears in their mind, Jewish person, yeah. It's them. They're the ones behind it all, and it's just so insane. It's just that whole story about the more ways you can say a thing, the more important it is to that group of people. It's like how Eskimos have like 1 million words for snow. It's just
which I think is both untrue, and also that word is now like a racial epithet or whatever. So good work on that one. That was a great example.
Way to fail me. I'm the worst, but
it's okay. Don't worry. Now that you've been cautioned, I'm sure that your liberalism will kick in, and suddenly, surely you'll be up in Alaska fighting a pipeline.
Any day now. I'll head up there. Toot sweet. I apologize to the Alaskan people, and I salute you for electing that lady who ran on fish, because she's a Democrat and she's good, and she got more votes than even the Alaskan senators did. So let's go for Senate.
Ran on fish.
Yes, that was her big thing. Was that like she's like, Alaska has fish is a very important part of Alaska's economy, and I will go to the House of Representatives and make sure that our like fishing rights and all that stuff is taken care of. And the Alaskan people were like, we don't care that you're a Democrat. We fucking really care about fish. And she beat Sarah Palin convincingly. So it's just like that.
Okay, look, that's great, and I'm happy for them, and I'm sure that fish is super important to that, and like I love that for them.
They are.
You know?
They have 100 words for fish.
That's great. That being said, not exactly fighting against a stereotype there. If you're like you're the delegate from the proud state of Alaska, and you stand up and you're just like, "What about our fish?"
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
like that's just like it's like yes, the Alaskan always pissing and moaning about your goddamn fish there, buddy.
Yeah.
Damn it, fish is important.
Yes. Anyways, the devolution guy, man, we went off the rails there, but the devolution guy, he literally had a video. He's like, I think this was all a setup. I think Trump was hyper aware of his surroundings. And if you listen to the audio levels of the paper and Trump, it sounds a little weird.
Trump is not hyper aware of anything outside of when his daughter is changing. Bazinga. Anyway, continue.
So he had this video, and the video was, he's like, watch this video and you'll understand what I mean. And the video was literally just Trump giving a to the camera kind of interview where like the interviewer is like behind the camera giving questions to Trump, who's the only person on camera like talking. And so Trump's like sitting and he's trying to get his like jacket right, and because he doesn't tailor his suit, so the fit's always dog shit. And so he's trying to get his jacket right, and then he has a little table with a glass of water next to it, and he's just like, "Do we want the water in the shot? I don't know, maybe not." and then he like takes the water away, and then he's like, "Oh, I actually take the table away too." And he's like, now the space is too empty. Bring the table back." And he's like, "Now bring the water back." He's like, "Just take the napkin out from under the water." And then basically they do all this work to basically just have the same shot they had at the start, but with no napkin under the water. And then Trump's happy, and they begin the interview. And like Trump removing that napkin proves he's hyper aware of everything. And he knew he was being recorded with these documents. He was laying a trap for the deep state by talking the way he did.
Definitely know he was being recorded. There's that. But it just further shows how much of an idiot he is.
Yeah,
and we didn't need any further proof, you know? As if it wasn't like the introduction of the Willy Wonka factory. I would just be like, hey, if you want to see evidence of Trump's idiocy, I mean, you simply look around and view it.
Yeah.
Any secret you want to know, he'll do it.
Oh, God.
Want to commit some crimes? There's nothing to it.
The wonderful world of Trump crimination. It's the greatest. It's the most magical.
Just like a river of documents.
Yeah, exactly. Oh
Augustus Gloop is like, I got to read these documents. Falls right in.
You have to keep them in the perfectly legal boxes. That really got me when he's on. He's like, he said that on Truth. He was like, they took my perfectly legal boxes, and it's just like,
yeah, I mean, the boxes weren't the problem so much as it was the highly sensitive materials therein, mate.
It's literally what I said.
It's like when they requested the documents back, you could have removed them from your precious, perfectly legal boxes.
Yeah.
and turned them over, but you did not. In fact, you asked your lawyers to disappear them from you, and they were like looking at each other while taking notes and being like,
yeah, they didn't want the literal boxes. They wanted the classified as shit documents that have classified pasted all over them.
I just love the fact that friggin' while he's doing that, you have the staffer in the background saying, "We have a problem." Literally, someone in the background of the audio is just like, "This is a crime. We are currently criming right now. I did not walk into this room expecting to crime, but now here I am."
And that's why his lawyers keep quitting, because he's very guilty, and also they don't want to get accidentally like espionaged, like because like all the FBI agents that went and retrieved the documents had to get special clearance to even look at the evidence for the crime they were arresting him for. They're just like, oh shit, these are like, holy shit, this is way worse than we thought.
Well, have you ever considered that what the tapes actually show is just Trump waving around some totally random document while discussing the secrecy of a completely separate document the way that you do?
Yes, the way you talk about that other document that you're not waving around that proves your case against Miley and blah 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 Iran and all that stuff. Yes,
they were just playing document mental magic. You know, he just took the top document off of his stack and just put it into play. It was just like boom, this one is top secret.
It's just because Trump's old, so he prints out all his porn, and he didn't want anyone to see his perfectly legal daddy-daughter porn. Like, it's normal.
Perfectly legal, you'd be recordings of his own bathroom.
Yeah.
That's why when they needed a place to store the perfectly legal boxes, he was like, I know a place. I know a place where we can keep eyes on the documents. That bathroom. Anyway, Donald Trump is gross and guilty. Moving on. Let's talk about Russia and Vladimir Putin. Everything's going fine.
Yeah.
This story was like, you know, the Trump thing we have to lead with because of the nature of the podcast and the fact that Donald Trump is like QAnon's savior or whatever. But I mean, like the military coup, or was it, that happened in Russia is definitely something that should have been our headline news for the week. So, Mike, let's get into the Russian Wagner Group coup, or was it?
So you have the Wagner Group, which is a private military company. They're not actually Russian military. They're kind of a line of mercenaries that work. Sarge, can you say that guy's name better? Because like Prigozhin, is that how you say his name?
Prigozhin is what I've heard other Americans say. So that is what I've been going with.
Whatever, he's a war criminal. Who gives a fuck if we get his name
right?
right?
Yeah,
it's Prigozhin.
He's a monster and has committed tons of war crime in Ukraine and Africa. But
yeah, he's a total monster. So, anyways, Prigozhin runs Wagner, and he has been for a while now pissing and moaning about how the Russian military isn't treating him right. He's not getting the proper resources to conduct his campaigns inside Ukraine. They need to fucking man up and start doing things correctly. And then Putin came down with an edict that Wagner was going to be absorbed into the Russian military and he was just going to be done with them as a separate force. To which Prigozhin was like, nope, fuck you, buddy. That is not what I signed up for. And he took his forces, captured a city on the Ukraine-Russian border area.
Captured 3 cities.
Yep, captured these cities. Encountered no resistance. The Russian military was just sort of like, sounds good to us, fuck this shit. And then he was like, you know what? Next stop, Moscow. And he just got his fucking ducks in a row and just headed up the street and was like a 16-hour drive away from the Russian capital. And Putin got on a plane and left Moscow as a result of this. And while
tried to go to Kazakhstan, and Kazakhstan denied Putin entry because they said this sounds like a Russian internal affair. So they said, no. He said, "Can I hide in your fort?" And they said, like, "No,
please don't do that."
Also, doesn't Prigozhin guy he contends that Russian military attacked him and his men first, right? He said that they got whopped by the air by some stuff. And that's what triggered this whole ordeal.
And that's very possible.
It is possible, but the videos, a lot of people who saw the video of the quote-unquote attack did not think that this was actually an attack from rocket fire from planes at Wagner Group. That whatever the damage looked like, it didn't look like the damage you would see from missile strikes.
Yeah.
So this is something that Russian military people love to do a lot, which is false flagging the shit out of shit. So whether or not they were actually attacked is very much up for debate. But what did happen was that he decided to use whatever happened in that incident as a precursor to be like, hey, it's time to go to Vlad and give my list of demands. Now, Prigozhin made it very clear that I'm not here to topple Putin. I just want Putin to have better advisors because I basically hate everybody that's running the Russian military. And if Putin were to, sideline or remove those people, everything would be running just absolutely smooth as silk, baby.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. So finally, on his way to Moscow, Lukashenko, I believe, the president of Belarus, got on the horn with Prigozhin and was like, hey, I got a deal for you. We're going to broker this shit. We're going to hammer this out. It's all going to be great. And Prigozhin took the deal, which was basically some sort of amnesty for Wagner for attempting this coup, mutiny, whatever.
This was like 36 hours after Putin. It was just like, he's a traitor and I'm going to execute him.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Putin comes on TV, like apparently like shaking and like these fucking pricks pulling this shit. They're fucking going down. You do not cross me, motherfucker. I will drop you. Yeah. Putin made it very clear that the penalty for what Prigozhin was doing was death. And then Lukashenko comes in and is like, how about the penalty not be death? And then somehow Putin and Prigozhin were both totally cool with that. And Prigozhin's like, I'm on a plane to Belarus to live out the rest of my days. Sounds good.
Yeah, I believe Huffington Post pointed out that really this is just like, this could not have gone worse for Putin in every fashion, because it just shows that any two-bit like general with enough troops can just apparently in this day and age in Russia just carve out a little kingdom for themselves. Because if Prigozhin had just stayed his ground and like held that area of Russia, at some point he could have just declared it a new country. And like, it doesn't seem like Putin has the resources to fight another war. Like 25,000 troops, which is reported what Prigozhin says he had, was enough to take 3 cities in Russia, and the Russians were just like, yeah, sure, okay. And that like, it just really is not, it's Putin's no good, very bad day. One of his greatest fears, we know, is that he is going to get Gaddafi'd.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He literally watches that video every day of his life, pretty much, and it's just like, oh, no, they're going to do it to me. I'm going to be killed like that guy was.
So we know he's afraid of getting Gaddafi'd, and now this, like, this, like, 2-bit mercenary general took 3 cities in Russia? Because he apparently overextended into Ukraine. Like, Putin overextended into Ukraine.
Oh yeah, they didn't even have troops available to defend Moscow. Like, he was calling up like people like double quick to defend Moscow.
And right. Digging up the roads.
Yeah, to try to slow down the Wagner advance towards Moscow. They were just like, fuck, we got to do something.
Destroy our own infrastructure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all of this is happening, and of course, because this is happening, QAnon was losing their fucking minds. So,
yeah, this is the storm, right?
Yeah. So at the start, this was much ado about nothing. It was a psyop. It was a head fake. And then when Wagner actually was driving towards Moscow, the narrative shifted immediately to Wagner has been paid off by the CIA to distract America from Hunter Biden's laptop. And
that's right. This was all the distraction from Hunter Biden's laptop. I forgot.
Yes. Yeah. This was all the distractions from Joe and Hunter Biden's corruption. The CIA paid off Prigozhin to stage this coup, to pull all the media's eyes away from what was really going on in America, which was that the Biden administration is now on the precipice of collapse because their rampant corruption is being exposed by brave whistleblowers. And while all that was going on, then the Lukashenko phone call comes in and Prigozhin takes a deal. And then QAnon goes right back to their original talking points of, oh no, brilliant head fake. This was just done by Putin to root out traitors and corruption inside his own regime. Prigozhin and Putin's whole feud was kayfabe. They're all on the same side. They're all one big happy family. Prigozhin is going to take Wagner and go to Belarus, and that's north of Ukraine, because all the fighting in Russia, Ukraine is basically in western Ukraine, which is far away from Kiev, which is the capital. And now with Wagner in Belarus, they're going to launch the second front. They're going to attack from the north, and they're going to take the Ukrainian capital and capture Zelensky and win the war for Russia. And this is all 11D chess by Putin, the ultimate strategist. And he's stronger than ever, and all that good stuff. The narrative, and the
certainly not weaker than ever.
No, certainly not. Absolutely. Fuck you, Sarge, for thinking that. That man's iron grip on Russia is even more iron than you even know. You have no idea how
look
iron.
At how deftly he handled this situation. With a wave of his hand, he made it go away.
Yeah. By begging the president from the nearby country to be like, can you offer Prigozhin exile and maybe he'll take it? And so after all of this happened, and then Putin was like, it's all water under the bridge, everything's great. Then Putin came back on TV and was like, no, this wasn't water under the bridge, you fucking pricks. So
okay, so that's sort of the story as it lay.
Right.
But obviously everybody has questions, and I'm sure QAnon has answers. So what's the QAnon take on the whole deal?
So basically, right now, their mindset is that they're going back to this all being kayfabe, and that this is a win for Putin. This is all working out great, and this all was just a way to put a magnifying glass on the failed Ukrainian counteroffensive. They love talking about that. They love talking about how Ukraine's counteroffensive was a disaster. Ukraine's losing tens of thousands of troops a day. They need to sue for peace. The counteroffensive has proven that Russia's victory is inevitable. Right. And so they're basically just...
Russia's victory is inevitable. We're in day 500.
Day 500 of the 3-day special military operation, yes.
Yeah.
So they're just back to the status quo of Russia is winning. The Ukrainian biolabs where COVID was made will be discovered very soon. And Fauci will be sent to The Hague for crimes against humanity once Putin gets the evidence and all this good stuff. So they have their worldview that they're never going to give up on, and they're going to make sure that we all know that right. Just Russia good. That is like the absolute bottom line of all of this, is that Russia was right to invade Ukraine. Why did they do it? Oh, we're just going to make up fucking reasons for why they did it. Don't you worry. Don't you sweat that. We'll come up with something, be it NATO or COVID or the West or whatever, or just Ukraine isn't even a real country. It's Russia's all along. Putin's just confirming what we already knew and all that kind of stuff. So they're just very happy that Vladdy Daddy survived another day, because this was terrifying to QAnon, because Putin's supposed to be president for life, and he's supposed to live for another 2-3 decades, because he's Vladimir Putin, the strongest, most alpha Chad in the history of the universe. So this was an existential crisis for them, because if Putin had somehow fallen during this coup, it would have been hilarious, because Prigozhin could have come in and be like, I'm going to triple down on the war in Ukraine. I'm going to be even worse than Putin was by tenfold. And QAnon would be like, no, Prigozhin's deep state. Oh, he's so bad and he's so evil, even though he's doing exactly what Putin did. But we're only based on personalities and the names of the characters in the game that we like. So now we're mad sad because this happened. I mean, it's just, they're so ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I remember some people on Twitter would just be like, "Hey man, Ruckus is a pretty bad dude. We don't want him winning anything, that's not." It's just guys, nobody's just like, "Hey man, I hope that Prigozhin takes over Russia because Russia's new president." Pretty sure everybody that was interested in that going down was only interested in them killing each other. Hey, they're gonna fire a bunch of rockets and put a bunch of their fucking in the red corner, Russian conscripts who probably don't want to be losing their lives, and in the other corner, Prigozhin's mercenary war criminal troops. And it's just yeah, okay. I mean, it sucks for the Russian folks that are just conscripts that don't want to be taking up arms. But all of Prigozhin's guys, they're opting in. They can all just get blown to bits. I don't give a fuck about them. So. I was sort of pissed off at the sentiment that I was saying on Twitter about people just being like, actually, you shouldn't be happy about this. Shut the fuck up. The
No,
enemy of my
happy for
enemy is my friend.
Ukraine.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
And that's the thing is what the actual hope for like rational people was, is that if Russia actually had devolved into a bit of a civil war, or there was actual fighting between Wagner and Russian military inside Russia, that would weaken Russia's military efforts in Ukraine.
Yeah, they might even have to just pull out of Ukraine to
Yeah.
redouble the efforts to secure their homeland.
Right.
And then, you know what that sounds like it would do? End the war in Ukraine, which sounds pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's like, oh wait, Russia's out of Ukraine and aren't fighting there anymore? Welcome to NATO, Ukraine. Guess what Russia can't do anymore? Invade you.
But no,
So-
you got me, Skylar. I was upset. I wanted Prigozhin to be the emperor of Russia henceforth and forever. Shucks.
Yeah, from the moment the war in Ukraine happened, I bought my Team Wagner shirt. I was wearing it with pride. I'm like, yeah, I don't like the Russians. I like the Wagner group. Yeah, I like fucking criminal Nazis. That's the team I'm on. Please feel free to take that out of context and make it into a drop. That makes
So whatever deal Prigozhin was offered, like either that deal has to be insane or there has to be something else going on behind the scenes, right? Because he like I couldn't imagine a person who is more dead man walking than that guy.
Well, and then he vanished for a little while because he got on the plane or whatever to Belarus and then just kind of was in the wind, and no one knew if like Russia managed to disappear him. And then he started doing social media videos from presumably Belarus now, but and Putin's done a couple angry diss tracks in response. He called it, God, what did he say? He said it was an actual rebellion, like, which is a very weird for him to drop kayfabe and like admit that an actual rebellion happened on his watch.
Yeah.
So,
like this is an ongoing story. Like it may have tamped down a bit, but it's still ongoing. And one last thing I wanted to bring up is that a lot of the QAnon people and the pro-Russia people were like, was this really a coup? There was no bloodshed. Nothing happened. It's like Wagner Group shot down like a bunch of fucking helicopters. They killed like at least 20 Russian pilots in this whole battle.
Yeah, and they also down like an aerial command like plane or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's not as if they're like first of all, Wagner alleges that the whole thing kicked off with Russia attacking them. Like they may not be true, but certainly those guys died in some form or fashion, right? If there were casualties there, he said they lost like 40 people in that attack or whatever they said. And then, like, you know, on the road to Moscow, they managed to actually do some damage. It wasn't like, you know, it wasn't the 20,000 troops on 40,000 troops like murder fest we were expecting, but you know, it wasn't just like it was all handshakes and giving you bottled water. Although they did get some of that too.
Yes, they did get handshakes and bottled water from various Russians who were like, "Oh, you're staging a coup? Sounds good to me. Fuck Putin."
And
so
then,
whatever.
An oil refinery did get blown up. Now, did Russia blow it up to keep it out of the hands of the rebels, or did the rebels accidentally blow it up when they launched an anti-air missile at a Russian helicopter? Who can say? It's a little unclear. Both things are equally as likely, but blowing up a massive piece of their own infrastructure to keep it out of the hands of these now rebels just shows, if that's what happened, just shows how serious they thought the chances of this going like really long were. Blowing up
and also it just shows what's going to keep happening to you, the average civilian of a Russian city. Like, do you have any important infrastructure in your town? Well, when the going gets tough, Vladimir Putin will destroy your town to save his neck. So you know, if ever you might have an opportunity to, I don't know, rise up and kill your masters, like, I'm not telling you to do that because this is a comedy podcast and that would just be a funny joke anyway, but I'm not telling you to do that.
The funniest of jokes. What a huge knee slapper.
Dude, I've got a stitch in my side right now just thinking about Putin getting executed by some people. He's like swinging in front of like the big building there. It's so great.
Yeah.
They're like crows eating them. Hilarious.
Okay.
Do we want to move into our juicy mailbag for the week?
Sounds
Our
good.
listeners got questions. We got answers. It's time for Q&A.
From what I
Yep.
hear, it's not actually that juicy.
Actually, we got a bunch of questions right as we were recording, so we're up
Last
to
minute juiciness.
Yes,
My
last minute
God.
juiciness. So, big advertiser placeholder says big advertisers have been back for a few weeks on Elon Twitter. I missed when Elon Twitter was dominated by low rent ads. Does the pod have a favorite type of those? I can't decide between obscure right wing grifter media or product name underscore shop accounts for selling one gadget.
Yeah,
The t-shirt bot phenomena was like, I didn't know how big of a problem that had become, and once it started getting called out on Twitter, it quickly became my favorite thing. I don't know if you guys saw any of this, but for a while there, maybe still now, but there were so many unregulated t-shirt, like, manufacturer, just like some factory in India or China or whatever, that will just take literally whatever and put it on a shirt, and you could summon dozens, if not hundreds of them, to any thread on Twitter for a while by just being like, man, I'd like to see this on a t-shirt, and upload any image you'd like. So there's a lot of great ones about how Elon Musk was like a pedophile, and just like, like what it's just being like, like Disney told me that I didn't have to deal with their fucking copyright anymore, so here's a picture of Beauty and the Beast on this t-shirt or whatever. Like, and it would be great because somebody would just be like, I want to see this horrible, like, the Hitler did nothing wrong. Love to see that on a t-shirt. It would just be like 24 bots in there. Just be like, happy to do it for you, brother. We'll make whatever you want.
Do you have a nightmare ad, Sarge?
there were just a lot of like really, as seen on TV, goofy gadget ads. There was like, why the fuck am I seeing this on Twitter? This is Twitter. Oh, right. It's a hellscape now, and all the advertisers pulled out.
My favorite ad was right at the start of Elon Twitter. There was a ad where they were literally just selling you silencers for pistols. Just
Nice.
outright, this is fucking illegal on the highest order. And here you go. You can just buy silencers off of Twitter. And when I actually went to the site, because it was like about 3 days into that story, the product had been quote unquote discontinued. So it was. Yeah, so it was really fun that people were just, because they claimed it was like an oil filter, and people were like, this is not an oil filter. This is 100% a silencer. Fuck you.
Cool.
So that was a very awesome little moment in Elon Twitter when he was just like, yeah, fucking need to kill people quietly? Here you go.
That reminds me, I did see that weird ad that one time for People. It was just like, people, pick a color. Starting at $14.99 a month. I was like, wow, how economical.
Yes. Delicious Spree Candy, 15 years hard. Your name's way too long. Do you think young Earth creationism is headed for a resurgence? 15 years hard time. No. I don't think so, because the religious, there's a lot of, I don't think that, hardcore Christianity really has a big niche in the market right now when it comes to conspiratorial bullshit outside of QAnon. So I don't think that.
And young Earth is just such like a weak thing to hang your hat on. It just like as a conspiracy theory, it doesn't really get to hang with the big boys. It's like so much tamer than flat Earth, right? Because it's just like, actually our Earth is only a few thousand years old. And it's just like, okay, that's wrong, but who cares? Like, shut up.
Right. Yeah, it's a form of bizarre Bible literalism, which no one really cares about, because flat Earth is already by biblical literalism. I actually saw one QAnon promoter being like, hey guys, can we fucking chill out on the flat Earth, round Earth shit until we defeat the globalists and fucking save the world from the deep state? How can you
defeat globalists if the Earth's flat?
Right, exactly. But and I told that guy, or I quote tweeted him and yelled at him. I said, "You do understand that flat earthers believe that the globe is the first lie that Satan uses to make us pull away from God. So if you're not willing to confront the start of the globalist plot against humanity, then what good are you, buddy? You're no good at all."
TikTok gave me the clip from that Netflix documentary where they bought those flat earthers bought that $20,000 laser gyroscope, and it showed them exactly what it should, that like there's a 15-degree difference every hour, and then they constructed a box to block the heaven energy, and I forgot that they did a diagram in the documentary, and then that guy just like laughing nervously, like later, like, yeah, everything we found with this like definitely proves that the Earth is round. Like, don't tell anyone.
Oh God, yeah. So fuck young Earth creationism. It's weak. Pancake Peasant asks, have you seen the docuseries Shiny Happy People about the Duggar family? It
Yes.
seems really Q adjacent.
I have not, because when I'm not dealing with the podcast, I don't like engaging with anything that's pedophile adjacent.
Yeah.
Yes, I have seen it. It's just how a cult works. So not directly Q adjacent, except that you get to see a bunch of groupthink and like a weird, hideous, dynamic leader, like taking people for a ride. Like, God, there's also that one about that awful woman who started out with like Christian dieting. Man, when I think of that, I'll let you know. But
when I want to eat food, instead, I just think about Jesus. Is that Christian dieting?
You're not so wrong. Like, you're pretty close. That's how this woman started, and then she made a low level cult. And God, like, the deep down is that one. I think that one's on HBO. It is, in my opinion, way more interesting and weird than the Shiny Happy People. But if you like Shiny Happy People, you'll like Deep Down a lot. It is fucking wild.
I looked into Shiny Happy People real quick because I saw this question, and the only thing I really learned was that Josh Duggar is in jail for another 9 years for his child porn or other crimes that he committed.
I always forget that when the cops...
I mean, like that's the thing. Like, I never really felt like I needed more follow up to like the monstrous behavior of those ding dongs. I was just like, oh, that guy was the worst, and he got caught. He's doing a bunch of jail time, and fuck him. And he should have been in jail a lot earlier. But I was also just like, I need to know the full story about this one.
Yeah. So I'm going to combine Professor DuckDuckGo and the real Jeff Baines. Your name is confusing and powerful. Their questions are kind of on the same topic, which is A, when did you all first hear about QAnon? And B, did any of you ever expect QAnon to become so mainstream or envision the different branches it would creep out to, like anti-vax or supplements / sales?
Hard to say. With first heard about it, did I think it would become as big as it did? No. But here we are. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know where I first heard about it, but I didn't give a fuck about it until Mike started talking to me about it, and I think that was probably around at the time where he was just like, "Hey, like, do you want to get in on this podcast action?" I've been monitoring this nonsense, and I need somebody there to help keep it light. And then I was just like, yeah, okay. I've seen some dumb fucks talking about this on Twitter, but I guess I'll like look into it a little bit. So Mike is at fault for this. I hate him.
I deserve your ire. I found out about QAnon basically because my Twitter feed says that I started my account in in August of 2018. So I basically knew about QAnon for a few months before that. And because I'd been monitoring the Illuminati, New World Order shit for a long time before this, the moment I started hearing about QAnon, immediately my reaction was, oh, this is just the Illuminati with Trump as a hero. And then once I started looking into it, I'm like, yes, that is all this fucking is. It is just the Illuminati, but Trump's the good guy. And so that's when I got into it. And that's when I was like, I'm going to fucking talk about this on social media. So then I made a Twitter account, blah, blah, blah. Did I think it would get this big? No, because these things, they always had sort of like a threshold, because the Illuminati shit is so depressing and it's so miserable. And even with the fucking false hope that QAnon gives its audience, the whole like Trump's going to save the world one of these days, blah, blah, blah. The bad people are going to get shipped to Gitmo. It's all going to work out in the end. And we're going to have like rainbows and unicorns and Skittles. even with all of that, there's so many people posting online when they talk about this stuff with QAnon who are like, guys, just take a break, rest up and recover. The world is draining. It's hard. I get being depressed, because believing in this shit is so fucking toxic, and it just makes you miserable to just believe that the world is run by bad people and that they own your ass and there's no other way out of it. That I just really didn't think a lot of people would buy in at a level where it would get that kind of mainstream credibility. And that's what makes it really awful, is that people get roped into this shit for, I mean, a lot of people get into it for bad reasons, but other people get into it for benevolent reasons, like save the children or fighting corruption, or I have some questions about the vaccine. Where can I go to get information about it? And the next thing you know, you're a nut. You're a nut who believes in this horrible alternate reality where everybody is out to get you and only Donald Trump will try to save you. And that's just, it's just bleak. And
also, I don't think any of us could have believed that the conspiracy theory would have gotten as mainstream as it is, because it's never happened before. You know what I mean? Like you've never had just been like, I'm running for Congress, and I think that, you know, the world is populated by reptiloids, and then that person actually wins their election. That's never happened before. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, that's the thing, is that the fact that one of our two major political parties had a runoff between a boring regular Republican and a person who at the time was known to have been recorded saying Q is a patriot, and the Republican Party was like, we will turn a blind eye to that. We will let Marjorie Taylor Greene and her endorsements that we have given her stand. We will not disavow her and pump money into the other guy. Because the thing that was so funny about it was literally the guy she beat was just her. They both had a campaign ad where they were holding an AR-15 and talking about guns and freedom. So if that guy had beaten her like 4 years ago, it would have not made a dime's worth of difference in the policies that were being enacted from that seat. It was just a question of, did you want a QAnon nut to own that seat, or did you want a regular MAGA chud to own that seat? And the Republican Party was like, fuck it, we don't care if a QAnon nut wins the seat. We wash our hands of it. And so once you got to that point where we actually had indifference from a major political party as to this ideology being preached by one of its elected officials, it's just like, okay, we're fucked now. I mean, this is real bad.
Yeah, because she famously had a Q coffee cup like in the background of when she was giving interviews in her office. Or like on her desk, I remember.
So I'll have to look into that. But yeah, I mean, she was being interviewed by QAnon promoting shit, and she was into it. I believe she got pilled by Liz Crokin, and so she was into this Q stuff well before she became a congressperson. And it's just like, fuck. And I'd also think that QAnon would have lost a lot of steam had we not had a once-in-a-generation fucking pandemic hit where people were looking for fucking answers as to why everyone was dying and why am I being locked down? Why do I have to wear a mask? And QAnon was willing to give people confident, incorrect answers as to why all of this was happening, instead of being like, fuck if I know, stay indoors. So, and just getting quick, confident answers it's something the human brain really wants, even if they're fucking terrible answers, even if they're objectively not even related to reality answers.
Well, there we go. So the answer is no, none of us could have expected it, and just generally / Mike Raines is at fault.
Yes, all this is true. So that brings us to our question that ends this pod as always, which is, what are you guys looking forward to?
I'm going over to a friend's house today to watch the premiere of Dungeons and Drag Queens, which should be an interesting evening.
That came out Monday.
Brennan Lee Mulligan's new seat in the DM chair for Dimension 20 on College Humor Imprint Dropout. So, that's starting today.
Featuring
and I'm excited
Alaska
to go see it with some
Thunderfuck.
friends. Yeah, Alaska Thunderfuck is the only drag queen I know of the bunch, but I'm optimistic that they're all going to be great.
I know, so because my partner watches Drag Race, I went back and watched some of the older seasons. So I recognize Jujubee. They are cool, and always came off as super nerdy on the season. They've been back a couple times, and Bob the Drag Queen is relatively famous, don't know as much about them. So I do recognize 3 of them. So they've got some decently famous drag queens on for this season of Dungeons and Drag Queens. I'm gonna piggyback on that. I'm also very excited to start watching that.
I may have to check this out, although I probably won't because I'm very bad about watching anything on TV. Like, I get interested and I just never follow through.
Well, this was not really TV because it's streaming.
Dropout.
It's
Yeah.
not TV, Mike. It's streaming.
Fair.
But yeah, it's
fair.
one of those things where it's like I don't really recommend it to too many people because generally I don't like these D&D live play shows. But Brennan Lee Mulligan is just the GOAT at it. I mean, he's just so much better than Max Mercer at it. Like, no specific hate to those cats, but I just think Brennan Lee Mulligan does it better. So it's the one that charms me the most, and the only one that I'm just like, yeah, I'll watch this.
That's cool. I guess I'm mostly looking forward to the fact that next week, after next week's pod, I'm gonna go watch the Sound of Freedom Jim Caviezel, hopefully adrenochrome based movie. So that's gonna be. So they're doing this ridiculous thing where they're trying to pack theaters with people to watch Sound of Freedom. So if you go to a website, you can get a free ticket to watch Sound of Freedom. It's ridiculous. So I did that. I wasn't going to pay. I wasn't going to fucking pay to see this movie.
Right.
So, but they were like, hey, if you want a free ticket, you can get it. So boom, I'm going to be there. And the movie's going to suck. It's going to be terrible. I think Haley from Arizona Right Wing Watch is going to see it also. We're going to do a pod. We're going to do a review of it. But basically, our dream, our hope is that there's an adrenochrome scene. That is the only. If it's just a boring movie of them rescuing kids from bad people, snooze, whatever. I've seen that in cinema a million times. If we actually see adrenochrome harvesting, I'm going to be the sickos meme, while the entire rest of the crowd is just like aghast in horror at this child's being exsanguinated for their fear-filled blood. I'm going to be in the corner of the. I'm going to be in the corner of the theater going, yes, yes, because it's going to be so dumb. It's going to be so ridiculous that we're actually going to have a movie that may or may not be a little successful in the year of our Lord 2023, and they're actually going to fucking tell us that adrenochrome is real, and it's a thing that happens. It's just going to be like fucking... Like, adrenochrome's so fucking dumb that there's some people in QAnon that are like, no, the adrenochrome shit's bullshit. We don't believe in that. Fuck you. Q never said it. So, like, for that to be in a fucking mainstream movie is just wild.
Well, there we go. Mike actually invited me to maybe tag along and do that thing. He was like, you get free tickets to this thing, see it. And I was just like, I would rather die than do that, Mike. Mike, I would rather die than do that. It's never going to happen.
Fair.
Hell no. Yeah. I mean, maybe the worst idea since you were just like, hey, maybe we should go down and cover this January 6th event for the podcast. Remember when you were floating that idea?
Yes. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, boy. That'd been cool getting hit with tear gas and maybe shot.
Yeah, what a sweet near miss on that one. Yeah. Speaking of near miss, it's time for us to, I don't know, nearly miss the podcast for the week. I got nothing. And on that note, we're gonna start fucking off from HellwQrld for the week. Thank you so much for supporting the show. You can continue to support the show for free by giving us a 5-star review wherever podcasts are provided for you. And if you have money, we'll be happy to take it off your hands by visiting us at patreon.com/pokerpolitics, where anybody who donates $5 or more per month gets access to our slate of bonus content, which I believe is between 50 and 60 hours at this point. Mike Graves has been pretty good about collaborating with folks to get new bonus content up there, despite Sarge and I having busy schedules. So personal thank you from us to Mike Rains. Well done, Mr. Rains. If you have money you don't want to give us to a couple of dickheads, you can do so by visiting love146.org, their organization whose vision is the end of child trafficking and exploitation. And we suggest them to smooth over our bad karma for having to do a comedy political show that deals with so much child abuse. What a time to be alive for us. And that is why I didn't watch Shiny Happy People, for the record. Get enough of that doing the podcast. Thank you very much. Thanks as always to DJ Minimal Effort for use of our intro song. They are still not on social media because they are smarter than us. Frosty, however, just like last week, just as stupid as us, Frosty does all of our voiceover work, and you can find them on Twitter at FrostyVO. You can find the show featuring all three of us dum-dums under one collective digital roof at HellwQrld with a Q instead of an O on Twitter. Myself, personally, at HellwQrldL, Sarge at SargeInHell, and Mike Rains, of course, at Poker Politics. So, for another successful episode of the Adventures in HellwQrld podcast, I have been one of your hosts, the Mysterious L. Joined as always by the enigmatic Sarge and our expert in all things QAnon crazy, Mr. Mike Rains. Good speed, Patriots!